What if I told you that the most watched event in human history is a game, not a war, not a coronation, not a moon landing, a game? 3.5 billion people watched the 2022 World Cup, nearly half of every human being alive on Earth. And what if I told you that this game almost never happened? That the men who invented it nearly chose a completely different set of rules. Rules that would have made it look nothing like what you know today. This is the story of football, the game that united a divided world, and what the world would look like if it never existed. For most of human history, there was no football, but there was always a ball. Something about the human brain is obsessed with kicking round objects. We do not know why, but the evidence is everywhere. In ancient Egypt, 2,500 years before Christ, people played a game that involved controlling a ball made of linen and leather. In ancient Greece, they played a game called episkiros. 2 teams, 1 ball. The goal was to get it across the other team's line. In China, during the Han Dynasty, 2,000 years ago, soldiers trained by playing Cuju, which literally means kickball. They kicked a leather ball through a hole in a silk net. No hands allowed, just feet. The Chinese emperor was so impressed, he used it as military training. And here is what all of these games had in common. They had no rules that everyone agreed on. Every village played differently. Every school had its own version. Some allowed hands, some did not. Some had goals, some did not. Football existed everywhere, but it was chaos. And then, England happened. October 26, 1863. London. 12 football clubs gathered at a pub called the Freemasons' Tavern. Their mission was simple: agree on one set of rules for all of England. The meeting was led by a lawyer named Ebenezer Morley. He had written a letter to a newspaper months earlier arguing that football needed one unified code, like cricket had. The meeting nearly fell apart. Half the clubs wanted to allow players to carry the ball with their hands, and to hack, which meant kicking opponents in the shins, was perfectly acceptable to some. The other half said no hands, no hacking, just feet. The debate went on for weeks. 6 meetings, 6 nights in that same pub. And in December 1863, the Football Association published the first official laws of the game. Hands were banned. Hacking was banned. The ball could only be played with the feet. Football, as we know it, was born. But the clubs that wanted hands, they walked out and started their own game. They called it rugby. Here is how football conquered the world. Not through kings, not through armies, through sailors and factory workers. In the late 1800s, Britain was the most powerful empire on earth. British ships went everywhere, and British sailors brought 2 things with them: trade goods and a football. In port after port, dock workers watched British sailors kick a ball around on the shore and wanted to try. In Argentina, in Brazil, in Spain, in Italy, the game spread through working-class neighborhoods like a disease. Not a disease of the body, a disease of joy. By 1904, football had spread so far that 7 European nations got together and founded FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association. And here is something remarkable. England, the country that invented the game, refused to join FIFA at first. They had invented it. They saw no reason to answer to anyone else. They joined later, and then lost to the United States at the 1950 World Cup. The country that invented football, beaten by a country that barely plays it. Football humbles everyone. Football did not just entertain the world. It changed it. In 1969, Honduras and El Salvador went to war because of a football match. 3 qualifying games for the 1970 World Cup. Riots, deaths. A full military conflict between 2 nations. Historians call it the Football War. Football started a war, but football also ended one. In 1914, on Christmas Day, soldiers on both sides of the trenches in World War I put down their weapons, walked into no man's land, and played football. For one day, the war stopped, because of a game. Today, football is a $600 billion industry, more money than the GDP of most countries. The World Cup final is watched by more people than any other event in human history, more than elections, more than moon landings, more than royal weddings. And every 4 years, for 90 minutes, a country of 50 million people becomes one thing, one team, one shirt, one hope. Football does what almost nothing else can. It makes strangers feel like family.
So, what if football was never invented? What if those 12 clubs in London never agreed on those rules? What if Ebenezer Morley never wrote that letter? The world would still have sports, rugby, cricket, athletics, but it would not have a universal language, because that is what football really is. Not a sport, a language. The only language spoken in every country on earth without translation. A child in Brazil, and a child in Japan, and a child in Nigeria all understand the same thing when a ball hits the back of a net. They do not need a translator. They do not need a shared history. They just feel it, in the same way, at the same moment. Without football, the world would be a little more divided, a little more separate, a little less connected. Football did not just give us a game. It gave us something to share. In a world that so often finds reasons to disagree, that might be the most valuable thing any human being has ever invented. The next time you watch a match, remember what you are actually watching.
Not 22 people chasing a ball. The result of thousands of years of human play, compressed into 90 minutes. A game that almost did not exist, started by 12 men in a pub, carried around the world by sailors, and now watched by half of humanity. If this video made you think differently about the beautiful game, subscribe to Stickman History. We are a small channel with one big goal, 1,000 subscribers. And every single one genuinely matters. Thank you for watching.